So whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone, my name is Nabi and my brother Amin and I are the founders of Solar Gurus, which is a solar comparison service. Now, firstly we'd like to thank Cubs and Impact VC for giving us the opportunity to present.
Talk a little louder.
Speak up.
Sure. Firstly we'd like to thank 1 Million Cubs and Impact VC for giving us the opportunity to present, as well as everyone else who took the time to come and join us. Now we have a short video to explain how we plan on streamlining our generation's transition into solar.
Want to go solar but don't know where to start? The truth is that for many people, it's been really hard to compare all of the different options out there. Until now. With Solar Gurus, all you have to do is enter your zip code, and you'll be able to compare the most vital information about your local solar companies. Ready for a quote? Using our free system will save you time, money and hassle by allowing you to only fill out one form instead of dozens. Feel free to submit all of your documents through our secure network and sign online. Please do not hesitate to contact Google at any time, because our mission is to fight climate change by facilitating, automating and accelerating the world's transition to solar. Solar Gurus. Prepare, prepare.
During my time as an energy advisor, I was able to identify certain market inefficiencies of the solar industry. Our mission is to fight climate change by facilitating, automating, and accelerating the world's transition to solar.
So the local problem, as it said right there, it's difficult to compare local solar companies. You know what the best deal is in Sacramento. If I asked you what the best deal is in Sacramento, it would be different for everybody. One person wants to look at affordability, the other person wants to look at quality, and the other person wants to look at, meet somewhere in the middle with a strong warranty. So it's going to be different for everybody.
The global problem is that climate change is real and quite possibly the greatest challenge of our generation. We're not doing enough as a species to address this issue, and we need to do our part.
So what's the solution? The solution is a platform that provides solar consumers with instant information and the ability to sign and finalize documents.
The current methods of going solar are door-to-door sales, telemarketing, and personal referrals. And nobody likes a pushy salesman.
So the three groups that we are going to serve are residential, of course, government, and commercial customers.
The way we make money is that after a system is installed, we collect a lead generation fee from the installer. It is always going to be free for consumers, and the average cost of the solar system is $25,000, which puts our average commission at $750, which is less than most energy advisors are receiving commissions.
So our market size, the residential, as it says right there, there's over 125 million households, of which only 10% have gone solar. And so our goal is to get 25 to 50% of the share of market for residential. And for commercial, there's over 5 million commercial buildings, and our goal is to get to 10 to 25% of the share of market.
Our goals are to exceed 250,000 residential uses, 1,000 commercial clients, 3,000 energy advisor accounts, and over 1 million LOIs in our first year.
So our goal is to raise $2.1 million at a pre-money valuation of $11.9 million. And I just want to make a note that we're seeking to raise that amount so that we can avoid further fundraising rounds. We believe we can get to revenue with a single funding round and not ever have to go through the fundraising
Process again.
yeah.
Thank you.
So you guys actually had about a minute and a half left. So that's all right. We'll ask you questions, but just feedback for like a future presentation. If they give you 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, try to use it, but use it with, if you have something useful to say. That would be my feedback. So one of the first questions that we like to ask is, how can this community help you?
Tell everyone you know that the solar revolution has begun.
Okay. Thomas, do you like that?
Yeah.
Thomas is our Clean Start executive director, so if you have a clean tech thing, talk to him. All right, so now we'll open it up for general questions. And if you like, I don't know if you want to sit down, but there's a chair over there.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the slides you had traditional ways of going door, well, how they were doing sales, going door to door. What is going to be your model to get your tool in front of people? How will you do that?
So one of the main sources of marketing is going to be online marketing, and we're going to use LinkedIn as the main platform because you can specify by position and by area. So that would be the platform that would connect us with the highest amount of homeowners. And then there are also other marketing campaigns that we can initiate, such as being in Lowe's and Home Depot and whatnot. There are other solar installers that have stands set up all over the place. So there are a few campaigns we're thinking of, but online is going to be mainly LinkedIn.
I don't know much in this field, but since you're kind of a company that's a green tech company, is there maybe funding, I know you raise money, is there maybe funding for government funding that, or for typical green like manufacturers and stuff, but maybe you guys could kind of slide in there in that category?
Yeah, definitely. There are certain grants, and there definitely are that we would need to from the Department of Energy. Yeah, absolutely.
Just want to make a note with the current administration, though, most programs are either cut off or just ignored. So it's an uphill battle. It's become a political issue. So even more reason for our service to be here.
I can see your logic behind going for less funding rounds and staying focused on your core business. But when you have such a high ask, you probably would do well to expand a little bit more on what you need the money for, where you're going to spend it, and even if you could try and make it like, well, yeah, during phase 1 of the 2.1 million, or we're going to use it for this stuff here, and then we'll need some of the additional funding and split it up into, we don't need all of that on day one. It makes it sound like less of a hurdle for people to get their thinking around.
So the main thing that we plan on achieving with this is expanding into 4 main cities in California as well as Las Vegas, because there's a really huge commercial market in Las Vegas, so essentially that is what we're going to do to cover human capital as well as our marketing costs for the first 18 months or so.
So kind of on your kind of presentation, kind of I guess idea overall, I go into a lot more about how you're going to acquire users.
Okay.
Because the model is that you're selling to the people who do the solar install, and what you're selling them is basically the users or access to the users, and making without going into how you're actually going to acquire those users beyond LinkedIn or beyond other things, getting it in front of them is going to be probably the biggest selling point. Other apps that we've had present, a sports app, Trifecta, they went and smooth and just spent months trying to talk to Uriah Faber and become his friend. So the equivalent in the solar market, being friends with Home Depot and trying to say like, hey, you don't have to sell solar, so you can give this option instead. Because I don't see exactly how you would get them saying that it's going to be LinkedIn and it's, I'm sorry.
If I could just say, the equivalent might be Al Gore for us.
Oh, yeah.
He's out here, right here.
And we have a commercial solar consulting side as well. So we are going to reach out directly to commercial property owners and essentially just ask them why they haven't gone solar yet and have them use our service.
Do you provide any services to the customers as well as all the incentives, rebates, programs? There's a myriad of programs out there to navigate. Does your service help them realize those benefits as well?
Well, absolutely, but we mainly just funnel them to the installers, and the installers are able to provide those incentives directly, 30% tax rebate and whatnot, all the other incentives. They're not provided from solar.
So you just do the initial shuttle?
Exactly.
So you showed a number of residential homes. Is that in the nation?
So
or-
125 million households in
Okay.
America, yes.
And you said you hope to get 25 to 50% of that market, which I think is incredibly lofty. Is there anyone who has that percentage of the market now, and why do you think you could get that huge of a piece of the market?
Because solar is a new technology and it's finally reaching the point where it's becoming accessible to people. It took us 40 years to reach 1 million installations, and we just reached that in 2016. But it will take us only 2 more to reach another million, and then probably another. And it is increasing exponentially. So we plan on taking a part of that market share because nobody has taken it. There are no companies that have taken it, and it's up for grabs right now. And if we create a streamlined process to do that, I believe that would be the winners.
I still think it's way too lofty, and if you pitch that to investors, they're gonna think you're smoking something. So, I mean, I hope that you can achieve that, but you're gonna need to give a better answer at why you think you can get that kind of market penetration. And a follow-up question, your pre-money valuation, how'd you come up with that?
It's 15%.
15% of what?
Well, the 2.1 million ends up being 15%.
Okay, so they're not gonna buy your pre-money valuation either.
Yeah, we understand it's a bit high, but if you consider, 100,000 uses is it's not very much. I think it's a conservative goal for our first year to 18 months. That brings us about $100 million in revenue, and with that, we wouldn't ever need to raise money again. So we understand it is a bit high right now, but this is the situation. It's not really a normal company with the numbers we're working with here.
You have track record of sales, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months. What's your current sales rate per month?
We haven't launched yet, so we are about 2 to 3 weeks away from submitting to the App Store, and we haven't launched yet.
So do you plan on just acquiring customers through, offering them, you don't have to learn anything about solar, we know it for you, and we'll connect you with the best plan, and we can verify that through X number of ways. Are you going to be a lead generation platform and then hand them off and never see them again? Or are you going to hold their hand, own the customer through its entire life cycle, through the installation process, and then upgrades? Because I think it's sort of, if it's the former, then that's more of a marketing company that's more of a traditional business model and is sort of a dollars in to marketing, lead dollars out. But if you own the customer, then there's a way to sort of build a larger business on it because you sort of own their mind share of clean energy.
So we essentially do. We're not too focused with the upgrades right now and post installation because these systems are set up to last for a while. So right now it's not designed for that.
Okay. So, but do you manage the whole installation process, or do you just say this is the installer and then
No, just pass it on.
got it?
Pass it off to we allow you to sign a contract.
Okay.
Do you have any proprietary technology? Because how I'm viewing it is kind of like a travelology for like solar, right? So it's like instead of so potentially you could have like a hotels.com come in as well, right? So if there's any type of proprietary technology, that might be something you guys want.
Right. Yeah. No. As of now, no, there is no real intellectual property here, other than the source code being copyright and all that. But as actual patentable processes, no.
Launching a marketplace like this is just hard, really hard. And so it might be cool, I'm sure you guys know what you're doing, but it might be cool kind of what's also leading to to connect with someone you can add to your team. It just gives you more credibility when you go out and say, hey, we're going to do this thing. Find someone who's in the industry or who has done something like this before. You don't even have to do anything necessarily. Let them give you some advice though and lend you credibility.
Absolutely.
How many solar providers are there typically in an area, and do you guys anticipate that number increasing or decreasing over time?
So, like Ramin said, in America there are over 6,000. In California there are over 1,000. And there are probably 10 to 20 really major players, but in any one given area, it really does depend. There are over 100, I think, here in Sacramento. And that number is increasing. I believe the number will increase.
I have a two-part question, and I came a little bit late, but, so you're saying that you're saying that your barrier to entry into the marketplace is that you don't really have, you said something about proprietary software. Do you have that?
No.
Okay, so the barrier to entry into the marketplace is low, right?
So the barrier to the entry into the marketplace, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? What you mean?
Well, what I'm trying to get at is, what's your unique selling proposition?
The unique selling proposition is our streamline, is how streamlined our process is. With our competitors right now, they're overcomplicating this process. They're overcomplicating the process and they're not finalizing it. By finalizing the trades.
We're looking to cut the fat when people go solar, simply put. So make it as easy as possible. Make it, as he said, streamlined. So we're going to have an app. You want to go solar, at least consider your options. Starting point is to know what you're dealing with. So, and there's no other service like that at the moment. That you can see your options in any given place without any commitment or any obligation.
Well, that's pretty broad, though. I mean, you're saying that, we make things easier, but it's broad. But what do you have that's specific that is a unique selling proposition? I mean, can you come into a customer and say, maybe you don't have 20 grand to drop on a system. We have a modular system that for, as little as $1,000, you can start with us.
So we're not the installers ourselves, so that's something that the installer would essentially provide to them. But the unique value proposition of Solar Gurus is that we provide an 18-point quality checklist that covers things such as purchasing options, warranty, installation, and it's something that every single one of our installers has to fill out in order to be a part of our platform. Now, this is something that is extremely hard to get access to. I have people coming door to door to my house all the time, and I ask them the most basic question I feel like I can, which is the price per kilowatt, and they're unable to do that. And so there really is there's a gap, there's an informational gap here. We're trying to bridge that gap.
Right, but my point is that it just took you, 3 minutes to describe what was a unique selling proposition to me. I think you need to get to the point quickly. You need to really focus in on a laser as to what it is that you provide that is unique, that is different in the marketplace that nobody else can do. And you need to have an elevator pitch that's no more than 3 sentences.
9 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, you need to get right to it. And you need to cut right to the core so that you capture somebody's attention that I'm going to remember exactly who you are. Right now it's sort of a little bit, you went on for 3 minutes. I can't recall exactly everything that you said, but it was broad. But I think you need to get real narrow and zoom in on that and come up with something that's really unique that describes that people will not forget, and they can put you in a bucket. Oh, these guys do that, right?
Off of that,
Sure.
actually, really smart. When I was talking to you before, and he basically did that. He said they're a progressive company for the solar industry. So, oh yeah, I understand it right away. And you make money on the back end. So, like a home loan type of thing. It's like, cool. But you guys didn't say that during the presentation, like you said beforehand, which made total sense. Like you didn't need to present you one. And then what he was saying about the how you're gonna advertise and stuff, like that's very unclear. And LinkedIn, that's one, that's great, but you showed highlights 3, right? And then you said the cities. You said you want to do the whole USA, which is great, right? But I don't think you have like a 1,000-person sales force, right?
No, it was California.
Right. So, California.
California, yeah, just California.
It says USA, what you're trying to build for.
This is the market size. This is just the market size, and this is the solar.
But maybe you say California, but be specific from there. And so like investors and whatnot kind of have more of a realistic gauge. Just,
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I really like Dell's idea, and maybe something to do, because I looked at Dell's website last night, maybe what you might want to do in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever, go to your friends and family and see who's gonna buy solar panels within the next, I don't know, next half year, right? And get those people to sign up with you, so when you're ready to launch this thing, they can be your first testers. And they can tell you, oh, I didn't like this, or I did like that. And then maybe they'll even work with you before they buy their solar panels. And then you'll have 10 people maybe that went through your process and can refine that before it goes big.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I think, sorry, it's just a second. To the point about progressive and to the larger point about your value prop, I think I totally get the value prop, which is that buying solar is a huge pain in the butt. But I think that the reason why Progressive's pitch works, and we'll compare for you, is because everybody knows that buying insurance is awful. You know, and so, but you worked in the industry before, right? So you understand that it's a really terrible process, but most people haven't looked into it, and most people don't know. So maybe starting with a clear example of like, this is how awful it is to buy solar today. And this is how, if you know, to save you from that, here's the, yeah, like that, because people want to know that you're saving them from heartache. And so I think that would play to that, if that makes sense.
Exactly. In addition to that, not only showing why it's uncomfortable to use something like this, but why it's beneficial. I think that a lot of people are not necessarily as educated in the solar field, especially as homeowners. They're not going to know why they need to purchase it at this time, or why right now is the best time to purchase it. So maybe.
Other questions?
Will you do this as a website also?
So we are currently developing our app and a website, both for the Apple Store and the Android Store.
Any more questions?
Cartoon was great.
I guess I just make just a quick comment. So I'm with you. I understand what this does and whatnot. There's some behemoths that play around the same kind of model. Home Advisor comes to mind, right? Where they charge for leads back. I've got some experience with that. You don't have proprietary technology, so you couldn't blaze the trail for them, and they say, gee, we want to get into that. Or you could package something to them when they say, look, this is a platform in a box, and you can add this to your existing services. That might be a thought in terms of how you get to market. I think the question is, how do you go through LinkedIn and all the conversations? You could have some lead blockers. The downside of doing that is that if you're not proprietary, let me say, that's a great idea, we're going to start working on it right now.
So kind of like licensing it.
Yeah, you can license it. There's a company, Building Performance Institute out of DC. I license actually a tool to them. We had some proprietary, but more than just save them a hell of a lot of time. We didn't make a lot of money with it though. You know, royalties are.
Your workload is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's definitely an interesting thought.
Yeah, and also the other thing is that, but again, I don't think you're there yet, would be the Department of Energy is still there. I know that the political climate's changed. They've got their Star Home Performance Program. If you're going to go residential, they've got some certification programs that can give you perhaps the visibility to their networks and whatnot.
Okay, well, we're out of time. Thank you guys very much.